Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Haberman, and I am making this video to share the results of a study that I conducted back in October, so October of 2025, or October of 2024, on the correlations between the big five aspects of personality and Holland's codes of career interests. So if you received this link directly from me, you agreed to distribute the questionnaire at some point over the summer or in the fall of 2024. And the purpose of me sending you this video is to just follow up with all of you for kind of as a thank you for your contribution to this study. So my dissertation is pretty lengthy, and the defense of the video, the original defense was scheduled to last 45 minutes. And I understand that it is very difficult to find 45 minutes of uninterrupted time. So I broke this up into separate videos for each section of the research. And then each of those kind of talks about different parts of the research. I am going to go a little heavy on the introduction for this video just because I am sharing this with people that are not necessarily in academia, and so my intro is a little bit longer than it normally would be for a defense. So after this video, I'll be making 4 other videos that kind of summarize all of this information, and then it will all be in a playlist for you to watch at your convenience. So first, I do want to dedicate my research to a few people. So first, my mother, Angel, who taught me the importance of an education and willingly surrendered her dream of receiving a college education for the education of her children. And you can see my mom over here on the right-hand side, the very, very short lady over here. And then also to my father, Pat, who instilled a sense of adventure in learning and has never, ever stopped asking questions. And he would be the one who seemingly looks like Hagrid. That's a very common Hagrid or Santa Claus are the two people that he gets compared to. And then to my late grandfather, Jimmy. I've got a picture of him over here in his military uniform, who taught me the value of research and an instructional narrative. The research that he taught me when I was 12 years old was genealogical research, and I still have that passion for research today, almost 30 years later. To my husband, John, who is obviously in both pictures, he supported me daily from the moment that I even considered getting my doctorate. And my chosen daughter, Caitlin, who first of all allowed me to be a part of her life. She studied alongside me while I was working on my doctorate. She was completing her high school diploma. And she reminded me daily about the importance of this research and the real people who this impacts. Or as far as acknowledgements, I want to thank my family and friends. It would not have been possible to complete this research without their support. So I would like to acknowledge them first and foremost. I would also like to extend thanks to my colleagues and students from the various schools and organizations that are listed. Their inspiration, example, support, and wisdom made this research possible. And just for people that are not watching this video, maybe listening, that would be the Minnesota Valley Area Learning Center, the Minnesota Science Teachers Association, Cedar Mountain Schools, Wabasso Public Schools, Southwest Minnesota State University, and Minnesota State University Moorhead. So I had tons of either colleagues or students that I worked with over the years, and all of them made an impact, and kind of like I said, their inspiration, example, support, and wisdom helped with this research. I'm eternally grateful to my committee members whose patience, expertise, and willingness to serve made this possible. And finally, I want to thank all of the individuals, businesses, and organizations who distributed and or completed the questionnaire for this research. Obviously, I would not be here making this video if it wasn't for your contribution, so thank you. So normally an abstract is just a long paragraph summary of what is in a research project. And just because I know there are not everybody that participated in the study is from the academic world, I wanted to just kind of point out some highlights here. So classroom teachers are often required to teach advisory courses that include career counseling and or social emotional learning components. As a classroom teacher, I used a combination of personality and career assessments to guide students into careers that were a good fit, not only for their interests, but also their temperaments. This holistic approach to advising allowed me to address a wide variety of personal issues that students were having, not only in the advisory period, but also in just my classrooms in general. The study focused on collecting information from working adults to provide information for teachers who are taking on some of those coaching, advising, or counseling roles within small rural districts. The study looked at the relationships between two assessments, so specifically the big 5 aspects of personality and Holland's codes of career interest. And the idea was to get just a little bit more understanding on ways that these tools can be incorporated into existing lesson plans without additional work for teachers. During my defense and then also following my defense, I found that administrators could also use these strategies for identifying ideal teacher candidates. With us having a teacher shortage, that's kind of a big thing right now. And also there could be opportunities for collaboration among businesses and schools for early exposure to careers in the classroom. For anybody that has done any research or read research, you know that the abstract usually summarizes the researcher's findings. And I did find a number of correlations in the study, but I am going to talk about those more in the 4th and the 5th video of this series. In my background, I am a licensed 512 science teacher. I went to school for earth science and chemistry, and then I later picked up a biology teaching license, which is just an option. We had a test out method back when I went to school for this. Coaching robotics really wasn't that much of a stretch for me because there are a lot of similarities between the sciences and engineering, but also I prior to becoming a teacher, I worked in manufacturing and warehousing for about 8 years. So that was a really good fit for me to coach robotics also. During my time in the factory, I got a business degree, and so teaching an introductory entrepreneurship class was also a good fit for me because I'd had some training. However, I did not have any formal training in guidance counseling, career counseling, advising, anything like that. And so much of what I did in my advisory and in my classroom was things that were things that I personally developed or that our school kind of developed on our own. Brief lit review. So even before we get into the big, understanding what has already been researched about this, careers have been a fascination of humankind for at least 2,000 years, and my citation is the Bible. 1 Corinthians talks about the different callings that people have, and the examples that they list in the Bible are teaching and healing or language, and so we all kind of have a different calling, and this was known about 2,000 years ago. In modern times, the way that we approach careers is using questionnaires. So similar to the one that was used for this research, it gives people a ballpark of what things they might be good at or they might be interested in. And then as far as the majority of my teaching experience has been spent in alternative education. And so I approached my review of existing literature through that lens. And that's just, it's honestly because of my background in alternative education, no other reason. So I'm always constantly looking to see what students need and what they're missing. One of the quotes really struck me from his original 1943 paper, which is a musician must make music, an artist must paint, a poet must write if he is to be ultimately happy. And this really drove my research in understanding how well suited people are to their jobs or their careers or their vocation, their calling. And that was a driving quote for this research. One problem that I noticed, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, that classroom teachers, there's an increased demand for them to fill non-teaching positions, for example, advising or career counseling. And this is true throughout a lot of rural America where we do have staffing shortages. There are quite a few personality and career assessments out there for teachers to use and guidance counselors to use. And I wanted to know if there was a possibility that if there were enough relationships between two different assessments, if maybe one could be used. And so it was kind of, I kind of approached this with the idea of possibly streamlining this process for teachers. And the reason that this is so important is that there is a huge disconnect between graduation requirements, which stick to the basic subjects like English, math, social studies, science, and art. However, there are administrative requirements that are put on schools to report on career readiness training. And so there's this kind of this disconnect between what is required to graduate to get a degree, but like also how teachers or schools get funding. And so that little disconnect creates a disconnect in how teachers are prepared for teaching in the classroom. And so because it's not required for graduation, teacher licensure does not really require any type of advisory or counseling, career readiness, training in their licensure programs. As far as research questions, the first two research questions, this little code just helps me keep my research questions organized. I had quite a few things that I was looking at. So the first one is that personality and career interests that I have talked about. And I looked at two specific questionnaires to see how they are related. So there are tons of different ways to measure personality, a few different ways to measure career interests. And so I just looked at one specific assessment for each of those. The second research question has to do with job satisfaction. So this is a very practical question that teachers would need to know. It's helpful for us to, if we're guiding students, we don't want them to go into a field where they're not going to be satisfied with their job. We want students to be satisfied with the overall direction of their career or their job. And I did have some secondary research questions that are related more to that, how well suited people are to their careers. However, I'm going to talk about more about career fit in my second and third videos. So I didn't want to talk too much about that for this. And that is it for my first video of the series. If you received this video link directly from me, please email me with any questions or comments that you have so far. If you received this video link from somebody else, if it just got shared through the pipeline, please feel free to add your comments below. I will keep an eye on this video. I'm posting it at the end of May, so I'll keep an eye on the comments to this video probably for the next month or so. But I just want to make sure that you had some information. Thank you so much.